wanted to ask you, Mark, if I could, about all this talk. There seems to be a driving desire by NATO at this point to ensure that they're somehow enshrining in their doctrine the notion that Ukraine will become part of NATO. And I wanted to get your take on that, both in the sense of, what does that mean from, let's look across the other side of the aisle and how would Putin, or how is Putin, taking that news, and also a sense of a timeline, if you can talk to us about that.
It's great that you bring that up. And in the context of, I do think this was a well-organized, well-executed summit. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg deserves all the credit for his last 10 years of leadership. Ukraine did not get what it wanted if you'd asked them 6 months ago or 3 months ago. They did not get that at this summit. They wanted a clear path to membership. They wanted a clear statement of membership. What they got was, it's a well-lit bridge. I mean, I guess that's better than a poorly lit bridge, but, it's still a bridge. And that means you still have to ford a river. This is not, they are not there yet. And this is in the, when you read the exact language, it's when everyone feels we're ready and the conditions have been met. It's some time away. So that was made them feel uncomfortable. The second thing they wanted was that money I mentioned, the 40 billion the Europeans pledged, that's 40 billion euros, like $43 billion every year. They wanted it for like a pledge for the next 2, 3, or 5 years. And what they got was, it'll be an annual pledge, which means you have to come back each year and get it. So that they got a good, but they got a not good with it. Just like with the bridge, they got a good with a not good with it. And then finally, President Zelensky was here asking President Biden very specifically for release of weapons, the ability to use the ATACMS for strikes deeper into Russia, not just around the Kharkiv battlefield. And I don't think he got that. So there were some, with the positives and the overall, for a coalition of the willing, 32 close to democracies, a lot was done. I still think Ukraine probably came away kind of with the glass half full, glass half empty kind of feeling.
Okay, yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think they were anticipating or hoping for more. I think probably, I suspect NATO leaders, the White House as well, probably set the table well enough going into this summit that it's not like they were disappointed. They understood what was coming down the pike. But if you look at all the folks that and there's not an insignificant number of them out there who would say, in terms of Ukraine joining NATO, that's what drove Putin to engage in this invasion to begin with, right? This notion that the fear of NATO creeping up on his doorstep. I don't, full disclosure, I don't buy that, but I'm curious about what you would say to that argument.
Yeah. So that's great. This gets into, it's a great kind of topic to kind of come around to on this, the idea of the provocation principle. Don't let the ATACMS fly too far. Don't let Ukraine into NATO, because you'll provoke Putin to further things. All of us who had to deal with a bully on the schoolyard, who've had to deal with that kind of person in the workplace, that you can't continually bend the knee or give way to the bully's demands, because they won't end. So I kind of think at some point you got to say to Putin, this will not stand. Just as President Bush said to Saddam Hussein about Kuwait, we had to say, this will not stand. We are going to push you back from this. And I kind of wish we wouldn't make this, angst-ridden decision every weapon system like we did with Gimlers, then Abrams tanks, then F-16s, then ATACMS. Every weapon system we go this ring in our hands, like, are we gonna alienate Putin more? At some point you have to say, well, that's the risk we take when we entered into this crisis with him, and we decided to provide our treasure to the Ukrainians to try to win this war. So I don't accept this provocation principle that you should allow authoritarians to get their way for fear they might do worse, because they will do worse. They'll do worse whether you give way or not. So, don't give way, stand up, hold them accountable, and signal to all the other bullies, whether it's in Iran or North Korea or China, that the United States stands up for its principles and its national security interests and pushes back on bullies.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.